Looking at jobs from a worldwide point of view, it's been found that of the 7 billion people in the world, 3 billion want good quality jobs. But there's a shortfall of about 1.8 billion jobs. This means that globally, the future world is going to have almost half of the potential workforce unemployed. This means the competitions for jobs worldwide is going to get even tougher.
Now, Australia's lucky that our economy is still pretty healthy and we're doing all right, but in countries like Greece and Spain and Ireland and America, the unemployment rates are huge and the unemployment rates for young people are phenomenal. And what we're particularly seeing is that young people in America who are going on to university are completing their degree and then can't get work in their chosen field. So what we've got is people who are qualified engineers working in cafes and as baristas and stacking shelves in supermarkets, which means that the people who would normally have taken those jobs are being pushed down further and further and sometimes out of the labour market entirely.
Other factors that are changing the world of work include changes in the way businesses structure themselves, changes in management practices and different ways of training people. But the biggest change of all is due to the invasion of technology into every single industry. Let's look at some of the key industries in the Geelong region. These are probably the biggest employment opportunities for school leavers in the near future. In the construction industry, computer-assisted design and manufacture is being scaled up to build life-sized buildings via 3D printing. Using this process, a 25-square house can be built in 20 hours.
You don't need plumbers, you don't need bricklayers, you don't need electricians, you don't need builders. The whole thing's automated. And what the research is showing at the moment is that it's heaps cheaper, obviously a lot faster, much lower emissions and much safer. But the downside is, what do we do with all those people who are traditional trades workers? What's the work for them? And what these people are saying is that those jobs are likely to disappear to a certain extent. I mean, this isn't going to be all over the world, but it'll become more and more predominant as time goes by. And that there will be different jobs designed. So there'll be people needed to actually design the houses. There'll be people needed to build these machines to build the houses. There'll be people needed for site preparation. So there'll still be work within the industry, but the nature of that work is likely to change.
Technology is also changing the health and community services sector.
I talked before about how big this industry is and how important it is, and there are a huge number of things happening here. And those things include things like advances in design of artificial limbs, artificial eyes, artificial organs, and what that means for us. There's a lot of stuff happening in nanotechnology where we can actually inject tiny little machines into our bodies that will repair damage to our bodies or prevent us getting sick. So there's an enormous number of things happening, and there's a group of scientists around the world who are saying that the first person to live to 150 has already been born. What the research is saying to us is that we're not going to have young minds in old bodies. Our whole lifestyle and life stages will change. So we could be teenagers till we're 40, and we might be young adults till we're 80, and we might be middle-aged till we're 120, and we might not start growing old until we're 135. So we need to rethink what that means, and it means a whole lot of stuff as far as work within this sector, but it means a whole lot of things as far as how we live our lives. If we're going to live till 150, what does that mean for population growth? And what does that mean for how we interact with our environment and how we use resources and how we live as communities?
The transport, logistics and warehousing sector is also rapidly changing with advances in technology.
The mines in Western Australia already have driverless trucks that go up and down into the mines, fully automated, no people involved. You can already buy a car on the road today that self-parks. So you get to a place, you take your hands off everything and the car actually parallel parks itself. Your pizza will arrive in a driverless car and be brought to your door by a robot of some sort. So huge number of jobs to disappear, but by the same token, new jobs to be created. So again, we need to think about what does that mean for the industry and the sorts of occupations that'll be available.
Technology is also changing education.
what we're seeing is that in the past and to a certain extent in the present, schools and education are built around bricks and mortar. So you actually come to school and at the end of the school day you go away again. But what we're seeing now is huge increase in online learning. And this was started about 10 years ago by MIT, which is one of the big universities in America. And they decided just by themselves that they were going to start putting all of their courses online and making them available free for people. So you only had to pay if you actually wanted to graduate. What they found was that over 10 million people accessed the programs and only about 30% of them actually wanted to graduate. The rest of them just wanted to learn. And what they found when they started doing the statistics on it was that the most popular video segment on any of their online learning programs was about linear algebra. Go figure. But apparently it's been downloaded over 3.4 million times, and the fellow who actually did the video, the lecturer, can't walk down the street now without being asked for his autograph. He's like a rock star. So the whole notion of how this learning happens is changing. And what we're seeing now is that this sort of technology is moving right down to kindergarten level, where we've got learning happening as part of the school, but also as online learning. And so there are a whole lot of issues here about online learning's great, terrific idea, but what does that mean for the social aspects of education? Because when you come to school, you learn a whole lot of stuff other than the main subjects. You learn about working in teams, you learn about interaction, you learn about independent study and group study. So if the education system's going to change to take account of this stuff, then we need to think about how do we still keep all those really good aspects of the education system as it is now.
So education is changing from a teacher-centred model to a learning model. E-books are becoming more interactive and intelligent. Heads-up displays will give us instantaneous updates of information, allowing us rapid access to a raft of information such as people's names, car data like fuel levels, speed, traffic conditions, weather, news, calculators and the like. The traditional role of teacher will disappear and the role of educator will change to people who design programs for learning and people who facilitate the learning process for others.
You need to start thinking about what this all means for you in the future. And when you're thinking about the sorts of jobs you'd like to do, you need to not think about how work was in the past and not even necessarily how work is in the present, but start to think about how work might look in the future and what that means for the sorts of careers that you would think about and the sorts of education and training that you'll need to get you there.
I think it would be useful to know what jobs would, not only what would be gone from the robots, but also what would be created, such as whether there would be people who would need to look after them and how many people that would need.
Maybe still keep interested in what I'd like to do, but maybe change it a little if it's not going to be what I thought it would be.
I think I've sort of maybe change around a little bit of what I wanted to do. If in the future that does affect what I'm wanting to do, I'd sort of change the topic.
I don't think so, because I don't think what I want to do will be affected.
Maybe in the future people might go to the internet more than facing someone and talking about their problems.
Probably rethink what type of careers I'm going to choose and how I'm going to go about choosing them.